I, uh, oh my, I can see. Oh my goodness, I can see. uh, New pair of glasses. My last pair of glasses pretty much wore out after 5 years of constant use. And so I finally broke down, got a completely new set, new lenses, new frames, and everything. And the difference is, well, what like night and day. I mean, my goodness, it's like everything is so crisp and clear, and you don't even realize it. Wow. Hi there. Welcome, everybody, to Cast Iron Wednesday. This, of course, is a tradition that many of the YouTube cooking channels, or at least the smaller cooking channels, have been doing for the past, well, at least the past decade or so, or the past several years or so. We basically throw a cast iron video together on Wednesdays to have fun, produce some content, of course, and give us an excuse to play with cast iron because, well, it's a hobby that we very much enjoy. And that certainly includes this channel here, Cast Iron Chaos. And I've actually been doing this now for 4.5 years here, having a live video almost every Wednesday, except for instances where I've had to postpone it because things happen. Because I don't do this actually professionally. I'm not making a living off of this. Nonetheless, it's a lot of fun. And that's the real reason why I've been doing this for the past 4.5 years. And I can only thank everybody who's been kind enough to show up here, both tonight and, well, all the previous times we've seen folks here. There are quite a few familiar names on this channel. And yeah, here's one thing, I can actually read your names from a distance again. So I'm really glad to see names here like R.T. Scott and Jim Glathar and Fatty Meats, Greg Hart, Dorothy Clay Gardner, Val's Black Cats Rules, Pat Z, Ronald Coward, Radagast, Cynthia Wesley. Hello to all the regulars who are kind enough to show up here every week. And even though you don't have to, I very much appreciate your company here because it makes these live videos all that much more fun. And good evening to Kevin Brown and Flash 1499 and so many others here who are here on, well, 2 days after St. Patrick's Day. We've done our St. Patrick's Day celebrations in both usual and unusual ways. And that means for a lot of us that we made good old corned beef and cabbage. And there is certainly nothing wrong with that. And that's one reason why for tonight I have made, well, some more corned beef. So I guess we could start by taking a look here at some cast iron because that's always a good thing. Let's move down here and take a look at a vintage cast iron Dutch oven. This is one that I've had for about a year or so, but I've certainly made sure to get some use out of this. In fact, a lot of use because I've really come to enjoy this particular Dutch oven. And this is a Birmingham Stove and Range, so-called handwritten Red Mountain Series #8 cast iron Dutch oven. So this particular pot is anywhere from 90 to 100 years old or so, even though it cooks as well as the day as it was first made. And for tonight, and where did I put that little pot holder here? Thought I had everything, yet I seem to have misplaced the pot holders. Oh well, then we will have to make do. All right, that means for this evening, I have cooked up yet another slab of corned beef. I actually just simply put this in the pot pretty much as is at about 2 p.m. this afternoon. Put on a whole lot of ground black pepper and some garlic powder, and that's about it. It has been busy. It has been slow cooking here in the oven in this iron pot now for just under 6 hours. And as a result, we have got corned beef that is just about ready to be pulled apart. And that's how easy it is to make corned beef. I just, as I said, literally just threw this in the Dutch oven, and it has been pretty much cooking by itself. I didn't even cover it with water, as you can see. There is more than enough liquid coming from this pot, from this corned beef itself. So as a result, we have got ourselves quite a bit of corned beef. And that means now we've got an opportunity to make ourselves some corned beef hash. and that is certainly something I'm looking forward to. Do you use a particular cut of corned beef? In my case, I usually just go for the point. I know the flat cut is indeed supposed to be the superior cut of corned beef. Apparently, there's less gristle in it or fat. But when you're slow cooking this corned beef for several hours until it's tender enough to pull apart with a fork, I really have not had any difficulty at all cooking the point. So the point is less expensive, and yes, that's actually something to consider, especially these days. But nonetheless, I am just fine cooking the point. Yeah, cooking the point here when it comes to this corned beef. I mean, look at this. The fat cap here just pretty much comes off. I had coated the fat cap, as I said, with ground black pepper here. And what we have left is, well, quite a bit of corned beef. What temperature did you cook it? I simply cooked this at 250 degrees. There's really nothing to it. I mean, that's pretty much the standard temp for a slow cook of several hours or so. And that's really the same amount, the same temperature roughly you would get from a crock pot as well. In that, if you simply threw this into a crock pot in the same manner and let it go for about 6 to 7 hours, you would end up with almost the same result, except that since this is done in cast iron, I like to think it's done a little bit better. The best time to sneak cast iron into the house is Black Friday when they're out shopping. And well, that's one way to do it, that's for sure. Buzz Fork, I certainly won't disagree there. But anyway, the point being, of course, is that a lot of us made corned beef and cabbage the other day, and I can only hope your corned beef cabbage turned out to be exceptional. Whether you made it in the traditional manner or whether you you kicked it up a notch by making some additions to it in some way or another, like maybe adding your own spices or putting a bottle of beer in rather than just boiling it in water. There are a lot of very easy ways to make your corned beef really something out of the ordinary here. Do chicken, the chicken barnyard pimp. I tell you, every time just install uBlock. Oh, I see. Yeah, talking about ads here. And yeah, I do apologize for the ads. Unfortunately, YouTube forces me to put these ads. Is corned beef similar to brisket? Corned beef is brisket. This is, in fact, beef brisket that has been brined with spices and preservatives for anywhere from a week to a month or more. And as a result, that's really why they call it corned beef. I mean, as I say, the process of corning the beef, is what gives it this unique flavor as well as this unique color. And of course, corning was a preservative, really, process invented centuries before refrigeration. That's the main reason why they do it, so that it won't spoil. And what's more, you don't even have to use beef brisket. Even though the corned beef that you buy at the store is almost always beef brisket, you can use the same method of corning beef on pretty much any cut of meat you want. If you could get yourself a chuck roast or or an eye of round, or heck, you could even do it with ham or probably even chicken, although I haven't tried it with chicken myself. And either way, you end up with a really unique and very tasty cut of meat. But yes, as you say, pastrami is also brisket, very similar, definitely. I mean, if in fact, it's really a little, not much of a matter at this point to take this corned beef here and turn it into pastrami, and that's actually pretty tempting in itself. I add a batch of extra toasted spices to my store-bought corned beef. Yes, and that will really kick it up a notch. I have no doubt about that. Of course, in addition to the corned beef, there's the other part of the corned beef and cabbage, the part that we enjoy making, and yet it seems like a lot of people simply don't eat, and that would be the vegetables. The cabbage and the onions and all the other stuff, which I've had in the back of the fridge as well for about a day or so. And I bet a lot of you have something like this in your fridge right now. Oh, this one, in fact, is still cold from the fridge, so it's the grease is actually congealed. So yeah, I've got some really mashed up potatoes and carrots, and and cabbage in here, of course. This is the stuff that is probably going to sit in the back of your refrigerator for about 2 weeks or so before somebody quietly throws it out. That's one way to do it. Or the other thing you could do, of course, is to take your leftover vegetables and make corned beef hash. I will be making corned beef hash tomorrow with leftovers. Exactly, Radagast. That's the whole point. I skip the cold, soggy vegetables and I leave them out. Well, that's one way to do it as well, Jim Glatar. There's certainly nothing wrong with that. I use the leftover cabbage on my Reubens. Different twist, and it uses up the cabbage. That's all of those sounded good, like a good thing to do as well. I just realized I haven't made a Reuben yet this year. Unfortunately, I don't have rye bread on me at this point, so I'm going to go with my original plan, which is indeed corned beef hash. And that really just involves doing a nice little stir fry here with these leftovers, and that means it's time once again to get to my favorite piece of cast iron for doing stir fries. So lo and behold, it's Walk Wednesday again, even though it's not the last Wednesday of the month, which I believe is next week, in fact, already. Here we are once again with our Lodge cast iron wok, because when it comes to doing a stir fry, I really find there's nothing better than using the cast iron wok here. K-Clock, last week I made beef borscht in my Lodge cast iron in solidarity with Ukraine. Delish, and congratulations for that, K-Clock, that's for sure. Val's Black Cat's rules. Mom would run on the meat and veggies through an old-fashioned grinder to make hash. That's all of that is, that's perfectly acceptable. After all, whatever works. That thumbnail is from last year's dish. That's certainly possible. I think it might very well be. Yeah, because since I haven't made this corned beef hash yet, obviously I'm not able to. Yeah, I wasn't able to do a thumbnail of that one yet. So let's get things going here, because it's really no more than taking your leftovers and doing a nice stir fry. That means, although one other thing that certainly helps with these leftover soggy vegetables, and that is you can mix in some fresh food with it too to make it to actually taste that much better. I'm going to start off here with some oil. Turn this up a little bit, because that's one thing we are going to need to do, and that's to give this a fairly decent sear. So, where's my thermo gun at this point? Oh, not bad. I'm already over 500 degrees on the sweet spot. So that means we should be able to get a decent sear here. It's time to take out the wok shovel. Spread it around. And once this is hot enough that we start to see some smoke, we are ready to have ourselves an interesting stir fry. All right. I can't stay. Hello, Valley S, but wanted to send love to everybody. Well, nice to see you here, Valley S, and I hope you have a good evening as well. VL Triple X, I just clicked had a finished dish. Bitchin', I already know this is going to look delicious. Well, I certainly hope so. We will find out soon enough. But it does look like this is starting to smoke already, so we are doing pretty good right now. And that means we might as well get started. Carefully. Holy cow. Oh, yeah. In fact, between the leftover, the fat and the grease, along with the oil here, I may actually have to drain some of the liquid out of this. However, with any luck, I should at least be able to get this thing good and hot before we get to that point. Let me see. Fortunately, I have a metal bowl I can use too. Ooh, it's got an interesting smell to it, though, that's for sure. After all, these are pre-cooked vegetables with all of that flavor from the corned beef and cabbage. So there's an interesting sense to this. However, I do believe at this point I am already going to have to drain some of this liquid out. I didn't do onions because I thought maybe it wasn't authentic Irish. Oh, onions are perfectly fine. In fact, I do have onions mixed into this dish as well. But I actually did not anticipate there being quite this much liquid. So let me dig out a bowl so that we can take care of that. Ow. Hot. It's definitely heating up enough, though, that's for sure. However, I had better get myself a better scoop, too. Here's one. All right, let's set this to the side for the moment. And let's see what we can do about skimming off some of this extra liquid. Bit by bit by bit. Actually, it looks like there may even be less liquid in this than I thought. Pressing down, and it seems like I'm getting this maybe a few drops at a time, but I'm not going to spend this whole evening just simply skimming this liquid off. This is not doing too badly, though. The real point, of course, is to get this nice and hot. That's really the first thing. Once we do that, then we should at least be able to sear it a little bit and get ourselves a little bit of that Maillard reaction. Actually, this really is releasing a little less liquid than it seems like in the first place. So we may very well not be doing too badly. All right, let's just make sure in this case the temperature is up high, because that's the important thing. This is one of those dishes that's almost impossible to burn. There are a few dishes I've made like that, like scrapple, where it seems like if you heat the iron up here to 700 degrees or something, it's still not going to burn. And given that this was cold and wet and soggy, I mean, it's really not going to be easy to burn this either. Which is why all I really need to do is have a little bit of patience and get this thing nice and hot. Be careful, don't want to. I better move this liquid out of the way so it doesn't spill all over the place. Anyway, excellent memories for sure. That sounds good. The added cooking might add some crunchy contrast too. Yes, that's one reason why I am going to be putting a couple of fresh things in here as well, such as that corned beef for one. So and with any luck, this is going to look less like slop and more like an actual dish. This, of course, anybody who is from Great Britain, or Ireland for that matter, will probably know there's another term for this leftover hash, and they call this bubble and squeak, which I understand is actually a term that comes from World War II rationing, back when food was scarce because of the London Blitz and the bombings and supply shortages and everything like that, and so people were making do with everything they had, including leftovers. And I personally am convinced that they came up with the name Bubble and Squeak, especially to appeal more to kids, because this certainly does sound like the type of name that would make a dish like this a little bit more kid-friendly. Okay. Of course, my dad, blessed memory now, was the chef back then. Was it cooked over a fire? Oh, I see. My dad was a Boy Scout leader and loved corned beef hash with eggs on a camp oven. Modern people couldn't survive rationing, entitlement. Yeah, you never know. I mean, it really depends on how things turn out. I mean, after all, just a few years ago, we had the supply chain problems. And, well, people had to do what they could to get by. In fact, it was during the pandemic, if I remember right, that I could not even get brisket for my corned beef on St. Patrick's Day, and that's when I think I just used a chuck roast that year and used the corn and corning process and made a corned beef from chuck roast, and it still turned out great. Which might be a suggestion for anybody who, well, for obvious reasons, may not be able to afford themselves something like brisket when St. Patrick's Day rolls around. Because, of course, the whole point is whatever works. All right. Well, anyway, if nothing else, it definitely looks like the liquid is somewhat evaporated, so that we are moving to more of a solid consistency. So we're not doing too badly right now. I think I'll cover this, in fact, so that we can get even more heating here. I'm not, as I said, I'm not going to be cooking this whole thing over the next. I'm sorry, I'm not going to spend the next hour just simply cooking this little bit. There is going to be more to it. I promise you that. Anyone on a tight budget knows rationing. Oh, definitely. Yes, no question about that. Campfire was the popcorn and marshmallows, all of which sounds good. Oh, Rocket Caper is buffering. Is anybody else having buffering problems? On my end, at least. I mean, I'd have to say it doesn't look too bad. I mean, the live counter is still counting on my end. Okay. Was it cooked over a fire? Yeah, I'm good here, says Cynthia Wesley. Okay, well, that's good. I can only hope maybe you might want to try doing a refresh Rocket Caver. Hit the F5 and reload the feed. See if maybe that helps. No buffering issues either with Kevin Brown. All right. But I mean, yeah, corned beef hash, though, is, of course, as you said, that really it has to do with leftovers, which is something that a lot of people, well, we obviously do our best. And that's one. Oh, yeah, definitely. This has gotten hot, pretty fast. Gotta watch myself here. Oh, yeah, just accidentally touched that metal cover. Oh, there we go. It does look like we're starting to get a little bit of searing here, even on these soggy vegetables. So things aren't doing too badly here. So far, so good. And anyway, this is not the finished product. This is just the base. We will be throwing some more appetizing stuff into this, I do promise you. IT support, first suggestion, restart the app, then the device or desktop. Yes, exactly. Refresh your connection here. So, all right. Anyway, any excuse as well to play with the large cast iron wok is a good excuse as far as I'm concerned. I am struggling to see if it will be possible to make it to the National Cornbread Festival at the end of next month. It's the difficult part on my end is I'm going to need to find a person to house sit when I am on my vacation, largely because, of course, dear Miss Mobley, my cat, I have to be sure that she's okay while I'm gone for a few days. Doing my best to make arrangements, and I guess you could call her my girlfriend, is certainly helping me with that. When I'm saying I guess you could call her my girlfriend, it's largely because we are, what's a good word? Just friends. We are good friends. I mean, we've become quite good friends over the last year or so, even to the point where I've gotten to know her family well enough. In fact, I got a very interesting offer just the other day that I'm taking to heart, and the offer is completely innocent. In fact, it's something of a religious offer. Okay, I guess I'll say it just to be sure. I was invited to be a godfather there, but no more details yet because that is still ongoing. However, this is definitely looking a little better now at this point. It's definitely solidifying, and I would have to say that it's certainly heating up as well. So we've actually gotten past the point where it is a soggy mush, and it is getting more to be like a solid mush. So definitely we are at the point where we have ourselves a bubble and squeak. All right. Isn't there an Uber similar service that will check on your pets? I would not trust that. I care too much, unfortunately, for my cat to hope that we would have a total stranger visiting my home each day to check on her. I'm afraid I'm a little bit paranoid for that. However, anyway, the point of all my saying that was that I'm hoping to make it to the National Cornbread Festival, largely because I would like to visit the seconds section of the Lodge factory store and pick up at a cut rate another Lodge cast iron wok because I have a family friend who would this wok would definitely make a very good house warming or apartment warming present. And we'll get into more details with that at another time. Nonetheless, pardon me. Oh, I think I just burped. Anyway, looks like we're getting to the point now where we've managed to actually cook up our bubble and squeak. As you can see, it's no longer, excuse me, I think I better get a mouthful of soda here. Excuse me, I do apologize for that. That was completely unexpected. It must have been from supper. That's better. Anyway, as I said, it does look like this bubble and squeak here has solidified. And it is giving quite an interesting scent to it as well. So I do believe we've gotten to the right point here. That means now we can start throwing in stuff, such as the corned beef. Not all of this. This is a big hunk of corned beef here. However, there's no reason why I couldn't put in about this much. There we go. It's already not looking so bad now, is it, folks? I think I better get out a fork, in fact. Much better, much better. All we really needed was some patience here to turn that mash of wet, soggy vegetables into something that looks and certainly tastes a lot more palatable. It's already starting to look better, I think. These extra bits here too that have crusted onto the spatula. Crunchy bits are the best part. And this is definitely starting to look better, if I may say so. Hold on. Where did I put that pot holder? All right. I have no idea how, but my two pot holders seem to have just up and vanished in the last hour or so. Oh well. Means I better break out the glove. Much better now. There we go. Yeah. As you can see, all of that liquid a lot of the liquid has definitely evaporated, and we are getting into something a lot more solid here. So things are looking pretty good. In fact, let me check that bowl, because you know what? I think there might be a little bit more room now at this point. Let's throw in the rest of this. We'll just do it again. There we go. So from what I saw, it took I'd say maybe about 15 minutes of stir frying in this hot wok for this cold, soggy vegetables to become hot, soft vegetables. But yeah, as I said, I'd have to say this is looking a little bit more appealing at this point. And the smell, quite frankly, is wonderful. There's no burn smell coming on. It's just a rather sweet smell, in fact, of course, because of all of the flavorings from the corned beef and cabbage. All right. If you add some of the original corning spices now, is it a fresh boost or too much? In my case, that might actually be too much. There's actually a lot of flavor and a lot of sense in this. But the honest answer would be you do you. Don't be afraid to experiment. After all, this is just a leftover mash. Essentially, do whatever you need to do to make it taste good. There are no real rules of what you can or can't do. For instance, if I wanted to, I could probably dunk a whole lot of Worcestershire sauce and mix it into this. Or other kinds of seasonings as well. I mean, heck, you could probably even use barbecue rub if you wanted to give it that kind of taste. The important part is to simply make it taste good. And boy, I have to say that last bit of vegetables, it does seem to have, it does seem to have dried off pretty fast. I mean, I don't see any more of that bubbling liquid here, do we? So that sure didn't take long at all. All right. That has to mean that the worst of it is probably past us at this point. So let me throw in a couple of other things. One of which is fresh spinach. I love fresh spinach, especially in this kind of a stir fry here. I've made this stir fry quite a few times. I've made videos of this kind of this stir fry too. I call it chaos hash myself, just because of the additions that I put into it. And don't you worry, all of this spinach is going to wilt down, and it's already starting to wilt down too. So I'm judging that I have not used too much spinach. As always, just need to be patient. But anyway, the whole point here's one way to use the leftovers. As you can see, it took maybe about 15 minutes of stir frying to convert that cold, yucky, soggy mash of vegetables from the back of the refrigerator into something that's hot, not as soggy, smells wonderful, and that would be corned beef hash. All right, spinach needs to be cooked in fat like this, because otherwise it gives too much oxalic acid. It'll give you kidney stones. You're probably right there. I don't mean to add different flavors. I'm just curious because adding braising spices as a fresh boost at the end is a common thing. You're probably right, and I'm not going to disagree with you. I can only say that, as I said, this dish is giving off a very strong scent, a very pleasant scent, nothing bad, but it's definitely giving off a strong scent of its own, which suggests that it is indeed plenty spiced up already. I discovered some years ago that the combination of this spinach plus the corned beef was really something wonderful. And that's why I love mixing in spinach with my corned beef hash. There we go. And especially with the fresh spinach mixed in, this does not look as disgusting right now as it did at the beginning, does it? If I may say so. Even though it's almost hard to tell where the corned beef ends and the hash begins. All right. And this is not taking long at all either. That spinach sure cooked down quick. Yes, it did. That's the thing about spinach, and I learned this the hard way too. When I first started, actually in my old life before I learned how to cook, we always used canned spinach. I am never going to use canned spinach ever again. The consistency is, oh my God, that yucky consistency when it comes out of the can. The taste is decent. It is still spinach, yes, but it tends to blend in and turn everything a yucky green. If I used canned spinach, this entire dish would have been a sick green. I know that for a fact. But fresh spinach, as you can see, the colors are separated and it's all mixing in quite nicely. So, throw in one last thing. Mushrooms. I do want to point out this has to be salted at the very end. Can you imagine someone adding salt to taste on the potatoes and then they add corned beef? Yes, exactly. And I'm not disagreeing. Once again, I'm not disagreeing with this. I mean, as you can see, I have not added any spices at all. So far, all I've done is use the pre-cooked vegetables, which are heavily seasoned and salted in the begin with, as they are cooking with a rather salty corned beef. So there is actually a fair amount of salt in this already. Probably not going to need any additional salt. If anything, I would probably throw in more pepper because I love pepper. But somebody commented the thumbnail must have been from last year. You might be right, but from the looks of this, I'm definitely going to be able to take a picture now and do a new thumbnail. Because so far, I'm quite satisfied with how this is turning out. I mean, again, even though the vegetables are all soggy and they're all kind of mashed in, that's what hash is. The additional ingredients, especially the corned beef, are certainly helping to make this something better than just mash. All right. And this sure did not take long at all, did it? Lo and behold. So, I guess, well, this is why I call this chaos hash. I was bold enough or egotistical enough to give it a name of my own because this is corned beef hash done my way. And I like it. And I hope you do too. I mean, as always, what I always find very flattering is when people try my recipes, and especially if they turn out to like them. Dig out my phone. All right. Oh yeah, this is, as I said, I have to say, I do believe this is looking a lot better than I feared that it would look. Okay, there we go. I put my cabbage in a little too early and it came out a little bit soggy, but boy, was it good. Yes, indeed. That's the thing about cabbage, as you know. So many people don't eat the cabbage because, ew, it's cabbage. You really do have to spice it up or flavor it in order to get some decent, flavor. But once you do, as you just said, boy, is it good. All right. Now that we've done that, we got a bowl here. Here's one bowl. And the second bowl is coming up, although this bowl is admittedly a little smaller. I have not turned off the heat yet because I've got one other thing to do. Namely, we need to top this corned beef. for just enough here to fill this small bowl. All right, pan, turn the heat down now at this point. The rest of this in here. Because, oh yeah, again, the burned on bits are the best part. And here's a second bowl, and here's the one that we will need. We will need to top. And that means, what we need to do now is make ourselves a fried egg to top the corned beef. I just want to see it in the background occasionally, but I can't figure out how to get it. Oh, I see. I love cabbage with sesame or with dill or just with onion and ginger and tofu. My first rule of cooking is cook for yourself. Yep, that is certainly true, except, of course, when you are cooking for other people too, especially family. But yes, I mean, if you don't like it, all I need is just a very tiny bit of oil. I don't even need a lot. Probably enough. If you don't like it, then that will make it a lot harder for the rest of your family to enjoy it. So that is certainly why, as you say, your rule is to cook for yourself. Although, on the other hand, I do have to cater when I'm cooking for other people because my new family that I've gotten close to, some of them don't eat pork. Because of that, I have had to make a lot of dishes without pork that would traditionally be made with pork. However, now that we've done that, look at this. It's an egg. Oh my goodness, an egg. Well, we better not waste it. Let's get this in. Oh, crap. There we go. Okay. Maybe I should have actually used more oil because this is definitely, yeah, I'm getting a lot of lace around the edge of this egg, but I think that's because I'm doing this in a wok. Actually, I know what to do. Cover it. There we go, to steam it that way and cook the top as well as the bottom. I missed the beginning of this live because I was cooking. Well, that's a good way, Sam Ostrop. There's nothing wrong with that. Did you mention how the Dijon mustard was on the corned beef? It turned out great. It added some really good flavor to the corned beef, and that is something I would certainly recommend as well. Whether you smoke your corned beef or cook it in a Dutch oven the way that I did, yeah, I really liked adding the Dijon mustard to it. It definitely helped to flavor everything. Blanched cabbage with butter and pepper is all I need. At least they still eat meat. Well, there is that. Yes. Yeah. Precious egg. Ah, my precious, my precious. This thing is actually getting fluffier than I expected, too. This is, unfortunately, let me see. I guess I'm going to have to, well, I really don't want to. I think I might have already broken the yolk, though. Well, okay. Let's just be a little patient. That's really what I need to do more than anything else. So let's cover this one more time. I've got to tell myself, be patient. Patience you must have. Yes, patience. Everything in the hash looks great. Well, thank you. I love spinach and mushrooms. I love spinach and mushrooms too. Yeah. Dana doesn't. I may have to make 2 dishes. Yes, exactly. For one, you can make the traditional corned beef hash without the spinach and mushrooms. If you like it, then you can make a second one for yourself. Or as the guy said, cook for yourself. Price of eggs are coming down. Well, that is something, yes. All right. And I can only hope so because it certainly is taking long enough. I use mustard as a binder for pretty much every roast I make and then add the powders to that. Exactly, Brody NYC. I think that's why I was not afraid to do the Dijon mustard because I was pretty sure it would turn out good. When I farmed chicken, I ate eggs a million different ways, and my favorite was poached by the dozen. Ooh, that all sounds good. I only ate the yolks with toast. I had to reboot my modem and router, still poor connection. Oh, I see. Well, again, I'm sorry to hear that, Rocket Caver. Nonetheless, looks like we've gotten to the point where I think I might be able to take this out. By the way, this egg does not seem to be sticking. Ha ha ha. You know, my eggs always stick in my cast iron. This is not looking too badly, though. So, top our corned beef hash with a fried egg. Now I can turn off the heat, too. And there we are. Somewhat traditional corned beef hash topped with a fried egg. Although, again, I did add the spinach and mushrooms, which is different. But as far as I'm concerned, I like it, and I think it tastes great with this combination. So I, for one, I'm going to complain about this at all. There we go. That sure did not take long at all either. Which is why I guess I can say at least one more time. Yeah, Dijon is my go-to for soups and stews. Only a teaspoon makes a huge difference. One more payment and that carton of eggs is all mine. I know the feeling, Radagast. I've been doing my best to make my 18 pack of eggs stretch as well. Although this morning I was hit with the urge to make a pound cake, and that means I'm going to have to go and get some more eggs. There's no reason they can't eat off the floor. Shit. Anyway, as I said, the whole point of this is, again, to encourage folks to get that tub of leftover corned beef and hash and cabbage and vegetables, get it out of the back of your refrigerator so that in 2 weeks you will not have to throw it out. As you saw, it took about 15 minutes or so of cooking in a hot cast iron pan. I use a wok, but of course, you can always use your favorite cast iron skillet or Dutch oven for that matter. It took about 15 minutes or so of cooking in that hot cast iron pan to turn those yucky, soggy, cold, fat encrusted vegetables into something delicious. And it's really no more than reheating it too. So that's something to consider. Yeah, because again, it'll help stretch your food budget. That'll be food that you can make that may feed your family if they like it. I personally think it's delicious, but of course, everybody has their own tastes if they like it. And best of all, again, it's fun to do. And that's really the reason why I do this whole cast iron cooking thing in the first place. Eggs in my area were $6.99. Today the eggs are $4.99. Well, that's good to hear, Fuzz Fork. Of course, there are a whole bunch of reasons why the cost of eggs went up, as well as a whole bunch of reasons why the cost of eggs are coming down. Very little of which has to do with, I'll say it once. Very little of this has to do with the President of the United States, whether it was the first time eggs went up 3 years ago or whether it was when they went up now. But that's all I'm going to say about that. I'm not going to get into a political argument. Okay. Anyway, Sam, have you ever had Dijon to your mac and cheese? Oh, that all sounds good too. Just add chocolate and beer and you will have all the food groups covered in this meal. Well, yeah, but I really can't see a way to mix chocolate in with the leftovers from the corned beef and cabbage. Okay, Fuzz Fork 8, I think we're going to leave it at that, and we're not going to get into any further discussions about that. All right, because, nonetheless, I mean, here we are. I've already gotten that all done, and boy, we're only 50 minutes in. So we still indeed have a lot of time to kill tonight, but that's nothing to worry about because, of course, the subject of cast iron that always seems to be never ending. I mean, I mentioned already the large cast iron wok, and I'm hoping that if I get to the National Cornbread Festival, I'll be able to pick up another one so that I can give that as a present. Um, Also here on my stove, and yeah, this is another reason why I'm so psyched for making corned beef and cabbage on St. Patrick's Day. It gives me an excuse to bring out another really big cast iron pot, one that I'm also quite glad to own, and that is the Birmingham Stove and Range number 12 size Dutch oven. This little this monster pot here is probably my fourth biggest cast iron pot. I actually have three cast iron pots that are bigger than this one. But, oh man, this thing is big enough, that's for sure, and it is pretty darn heavy as well. So when I bring this one out, this means that I am definitely not kidding around, and I'm so glad that I got this because I was able to cook about 5 pounds of corned beef, about 3 pounds of potatoes, as well as a whole head of cabbage, all in this one pot. And there was actually plenty of room to spare too. So I am quite happy with that. It's really just another reason why I like to say that, if you have an excuse to get at least one big cast iron pot, then I certainly urge you to do so because you will get a lot more use out of it than you might think. Some folks have big hair. Well, this is the result, as I've said already, of having this hobby now for 15 years, for doing a lot of treasure hunting, and for making occasional scores like this. It took 15 years to build up this collection, and even so, my collection pales compared to some of the huge cast iron collections I've seen. But I'm still quite proud of what I do have, and I'm doing my best to try to rotate through all of this. Yeah, the nice thing about this is actually a lid from the handwritten days of BSR. The number 12 on this is actually a handwritten number 12, and what's more, it has the really huge dimples here on the underneath. And that was when they were. This was definitely from the first generation of Red Mountain series cast iron pots. The lid only, though, is a Red Mountain lid. The pot is definitely much newer. The pot has a Made in USA mark, and that means it's a Century series. So the pot could be anywhere from 30, 40 years younger than the lid. All right, no, they don't go bad, but I wanted real eggs as a child, not to mention how many days following Easter I'd eat them. Oh, yes. Yeah, that's true. The price of eggs is going down just in time for Easter, because for a while it certainly seemed like, and maybe for a lot of people it might still be, that because eggs are so expensive, some people may not be able to afford having eggs on Easter. And well, that's hopefully, as I said, the cost is going down to the point where they may still be able to afford them. Yeah. Honey Badger lives close to the old Wagner ware foundry. Yes, that's right. He actually posted a video which showed that he actually did he went into the Wagner ware foundry at least before they tore it down, and he managed to get some video of that. So, among other things, that certainly proved that the owners of Wagner ware, what both the old owners and the new owners, they are not using the original Sydney foundry, alas. That Sydney foundry is gone, and it has been consigned to history. So, nonetheless, I understand Honey Badger is still enjoying that Wagner griddle, and I'm glad to hear that too, regardless of where it came from. Although I'm pretty sure it did come from somewhere here in the USA. I have several foundry workers in my wife's family, and before they passed, they talked about different marks that were made in the molds. Oh, really? Are you referring to Wagner, or do you know which foundry they were at? Or maybe they were at a foundry whose name was less well known, perhaps? I wouldn't be surprised either way. I only have two of those big, deep dimple lids. Well, two is probably quite a bit, because this number 12 size one certainly does only fit a number 12 BSNR size pot, and it really doesn't fit on any of my other cast iron pans. Of course, I could say the same thing about my other handwritten lid, the one at the beginning of this video, which was the number 8 size handwritten lid. And even though this one is handwritten, by the way, it has smaller dimples on it. So that could mean that maybe it's from a second generation, perhaps. It's still handwritten on the bottom nonetheless, but it may not be from the original Red Mountain series. Nonetheless, I'm still doing my best to get a lot of use out of it. And I'm quite happy to do so because that's really the whole point for me. In that, as much as I love collecting cast iron, I really want to get as much use out of these as I can. Okay, Buddy had plumbing emergency, so he calls the IT guy. Oh, I know that feeling all too well, Hogwell. It's like, pretty much, tech support is really the one that it's like the first line of defense, no matter what it is. You can get this, hello, tech support. Yeah, can you tell me what's going on with my gadget here? It's making this beeping sound every 2 minutes. You mean a single beep every 2 minutes? Yes. That's not our equipment. What do you mean? I'm hearing this beep every 2 minutes, so it's got to be coming from your equipment. Sir, the battery in your smoke detector is going low. You are hearing the smoke detector battery. Are you sure? Yes. Turn off our equipment and you'll see. He turns off the equipment and guess what? The beep continues. It's like, oh, all right. I guess you're right. So, yeah. Working tech support is just so much fun, isn't it? Or IT, I should say. It's a feature, not a bug. Okay, yeah, layaway. Hope they don't go bad. I'm working on a video to show where the Pequa and Waypack and Wapak foundries used to be. Oh, that sounds actually very interesting. I only have a smattering of knowledge of those foundries myself. I own a couple of their pans, but I've had nowhere near as much experience with Favorite and Pequa and Wapak as I have with BSNR. So yeah, I'd like to see more about those foundries as well. Thankfully for him, I rebuilt houses before I ran networks. You just got to put water in the gravy to make up the cost. Ah, yes. Cost-cutting measures. Aren't they just so much fun? Or lots of condiments. Now, remember, he said condom. No. Condiments. I know. Old joke. But I guess that's just how I'm feeling tonight. I'm actually feeling pretty good tonight, both from making that corned beef hash and from getting my new glasses. So, the difference between that is really like night and day, that's for sure. All right. Okay, we're not doing too badly tonight, though, if nothing else. I've gotten to play with two nice big cast iron pots. The wok here is, even though I turned the heat off about 15 minutes ago, this is still definitely plenty hot. So I'm going to actually have to leave this, and I'm probably going to have to clean it in the morning. But all it's really going to do is require a bit of a scrub with the chainmail scrubber. So there's no difficulty at all with there. On the other hand, I can see I'm going to have to get the rest of this corned beef. I'm going to have to probably put it in the fridge so that, well, I'll be able to use it in more corned beef hash. Or probably, like you suggested, I'll probably make Reubens. That's actually not sounding like too bad of a plan for tomorrow or Friday evening. Those dimples would have been made by a foundry worker quickly stabbing the mold top before two halves were put together and the iron was poured. Both those dimples represent that effort. Really, I would have thought that the dimples would have been made with the pattern, not with the mold, so that you actually put that into the pattern, and as a result, it then produced a whole bunch of lids with those exact dimples. That's my opinion, though. And if you disagree with it, well, certainly feel free to do so, because I use this as an excuse again and again that I can say I'm not really an expert at it. I'm just basing it on what little experience I've seen with the pieces I found in the wild and the research I've done. I have a few of those old red mountain lids. Crazy how they vary. Some just a few, some have tons. I'd hook up to my TV. I don't have the patience to learn. That's the thing is like the original Red Mountain series. The original Atlanta Stove Works and the first Birmingham Stove and Range Foundry. They were actually, I shouldn't say primitive, but they were nowhere near the modern industrialized factory that they became. And in fact, in their earliest days, when they were first started, BSNR in particular did in fact use prison labor. So yeah, there's that word again, prison labor, because that is in fact what they did. Regardless of the morals of contracting prison workers for labor in your foundry, that is, here I go again. That is unfortunately how BSNR started out in its early days in the early 20th century. Eventually, and my understanding is, as the foundry grew, they were in fact hiring workers and paying them. So that by the time the Red Mountain series came along, and then came the Great Depression and World War II, my understanding is at that point, if they were still using convict labor, it was certainly a very small part of their total workforce, because they became a very large foundry. They were probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest foundries in the United States in terms of just that, in terms of size, in terms of output. I mean, Griswold and Wagner were famous, but BSNR, again, they really put out. That's one reason why their pans are so commonly found even today. And this is one reason why I have reason to believe, based on the research, that they probably expanded into their first phase of automated production, probably somewhere around the 1940s or so, about 15 years or so before they renamed their line to Century Cookware. That, of course, is an argument that's been going on the cast iron collectors groups, and I, for one, have taken the side of the folks who, again, feel that a lot of those Red Mountain pans are, in fact, Red Mountain. They are not early century. Although, again, that's largely my opinion. I cannot see William or Corey. Yeah, no, that's true. I don't think we've seen Corey here tonight. Well, I can only hope he's having fun, if nothing else. Back then, human labor was cheap, and the best molds are as smooth as possible. Small details are applied at the very end, like dimples. Okay. Yeah. The cons learned a trade when they got out. Rehabilitation used to be a thing. Well, there is that. I mean, I will say that there were some advantages to the prison work programs as well. But of course, the whole morality thing is one of those ethical issues that they've been arguing about really pretty much since those days. And I, for one, I'm not really one to settle that argument. I largely just consign it to history. Maybe I'm copping out myself. Maybe I'm trying to avoid it when I say it happened like about 100 years ago. And using a cast iron pan that could have been made by a convict 100 years ago, I really would not consider that to be, any kind of a sin or anything, or any kind of ethical concern. Not like, say, collecting Nazi memorabilia, or for that matter, not collecting pieces of cast iron that had genuine racist images on them, which is an argument that I am also not going to get into at this time. I mean, regardless of what other people collect, I myself do not collect those kind of things. But that's just me. And I'm not going to force my politics on anyone. Okay, I better change the subject again. If the dimples were put in the sand mold rather than the pattern, you would not get dimples on the lid. Okay, well, there's a good point as well there, Radagast, and that actually sounds like another put into the sand mold. Yeah, that actually sounds like another point in favor of putting the dimples on the pattern itself. And I think and I still think I would actually lean in that direction for that reason. In the when I first got started in this hobby myself, the ugly hammered pans. I actually thought until I learned otherwise that they actually made the hammered pattern in the ugly hammered pans by beating the pans with a hammer. And yes, I know that is definitely not true. And I learned that. I had that pointed out to me, and I have since learned my lesson about that. It's only because I did not know. And so I was I was open minded enough to learn, change my mind, and understand a little bit more about the production process. Um, I had a set of ugly hammered skillets that I'd managed to collect, but I gave those three skillets away in a giveaway about a year and a half ago. No wonder you're so quiet. I'm done, just ate. Oh, okay, Corey Clark. Well, there's a good reason, too. I mean, obviously, you're digesting, and I know what that means. You're probably sitting there at your keyboard and probably starting to nod off, in fact. After all, it is here 9 o'clock on the East Coast. And I can certainly understand, especially if you had a heavy meal like, say, corned beef hash, for instance. The digestion is definitely going to come, and you can bet that I'm probably going to be sleeping pretty well tonight, too. So I just restored a pretty ugly hammered fryer. Oh, that sounds nice, Hogwild. CIZ, how did you know? Oh, let's just say I'm speaking from experience. It's like pretty much every night I find myself online until I suddenly find myself starting to nod off. Sometimes it's like when my forehead hits the keyboard, and then I'm saying, "Okay, time to go to bed." Sometimes, on the other hand, it's when my cat Miss Mobley wants one more snack before going to bed. Speaking of which, her door is still open. I'm gonna have to close the door and let her get her in and close the door before going to bed tonight. Today here in New York, it hit 70 degrees. I'm not sure if this was the first time, but it's got to be one of the first times we've gotten to 70 this year. So, yeah, definitely spring is coming, although it's going to cool down a little bit over the weekend. Again, it's New York, so all of this is definitely to be expected, but at least we got to enjoy some warm weather today. So I just realized that there potatoes in this hash. Can't have hash without potatoes. There most definitely were potatoes in this hash. Yes. Um, there were red potatoes, and I know it's hard to see in there, but there are in fact bits of red potato all throughout. I cleaned out a fair amount of the cabbage. That's why there just happens to be not much cabbage in this hash. It really depends on your leftovers, of course, but I most definitely have potatoes, red potatoes. And of course, if you want, again, you could always just cut up a couple of fresh potatoes and mix them in as well. I mean, that is exactly what I did tonight. I miss the potatoes. Oh, not to worry. Tomorrow is rain and much cooler temperatures. Yes, indeed. So, winter is not over yet. In fact, the first day of spring is the day after tomorrow. So, yeah, I mean, it's still early in the year yet. There's plenty of time to do our preparations for whatever needs to be done. All right. 70 in Ohio today. And oh, yeah, well, definitely. I hope you had a chance to enjoy it, Fuzzfork. Okay. Cast iron is made in molds, which themselves are made from molds. The best molds are smooth and small details are added right before the iron is poured. That's how iron was poured back then. Yes, indeed. Today, of course, the production has gotten a lot more sophisticated and a lot more computerized, which is how large cast iron can make these wonderfully intricate designs on the bottom of their pans now. I mean, back in those days, I can only imagine how difficult it would have been to have made a design something like the Lodge Year of the Dragon skillet, for instance, in the days of BSNR. So there are some advantages for technology advancing through the years. For that matter, we are getting close to the time when the next Cracker Barrel skillet will should be showing up. I'm keeping an eye on their website, and we'll see what that whether or not this year's Cracker Barrel large skillet might be worth it. Molds used to be made from wood. Well, maybe in the early days, but when BSNR went to their first level of automated production, again, I think it was the 1940s, they used a process then that I've since learned they call it jolt and squeeze. What that meant is that of course you had to you know do the sand mold and pour the iron into it, and then at that point you used a hydraulic press to press it down, so you squeeze it, and I guess that helped to make the make it nice and smooth and with as few defects as possible, except when you had sand shift, of course, and that's why they called it sand shift. And then after that came the jolt part, where you had to break the mold open to get the iron pan out, and that was why they called it jolt and squeeze. Patterns were wood way back in the day. Chives, horseradish, garlic, rhubarb coming in there. Oh, that sounds good. Mark Sieber, it sounds like you're gonna have yourself quite a bit of corned beef hash. Casting the dragon skillets in the 1920s would have been uber luxury. They did have luxury skillets back then, and I'm not even just talking about Griswold either. I mean, think of the new idea skillets. But even then, the pattern on the new idea skillets looks great and it looks really smooth, but it's certainly not as intricate as something like the Year of the Dragon skillet. All right, we have wild onions coming in here. I don't think Cracker Barrel will come out with any skillets this year, but that's only a guess. Yes, we will find out within like maybe the next month or so. I will do my best to keep an eye on their website and we'll see what happens. It might be that they reached their peak 3 years ago with the Walking Liberty half-dollar skillet. Hopefully, I'm wrong. I would love to see another wonderful looking skillet from them, but we will find out again sometime within the next month. All right. Okay. We are getting on with this, I think. And, I think even though it's about almost 9:15, I feel like at this point we might as well just call it a night because we've certainly accomplished what we set out to do. Again, we made corned beef hash, and I like to think that, and I'm definitely looking forward to trying it. But it's certainly, I really don't think there's going to be any problem with that because it certainly turned out good. And I'll say again, my reason for making corned beef hash tonight is I hope I've inspired someone to give it a try. As I said, you take that Tupperware container full of soggy cold vegetables out of the back of the refrigerator and throw it into a hot cast iron pan. You can heat your pan up to searing temperatures for this. And then you just give it a good stir fry for like maybe about 15 minutes or so. And you will turn those soggy vegetables into corned beef hash, especially if you throw in a few fresh veggies as well and to make it even more tempting, I guess. It really wasn't hard to make. And again, you get to stretch your food budget a little bit, and there will be yet another reason to look forward to St. Patrick's Day next year. All right, nothing wrong with being a southpaw. Oh, yes, indeed. Well, thank you very much, William Hurt, as well. Kwai Chang Kane put the Shaolin dragon mark on his forearm in the late 1800s. Kung Fu fans, cast iron pan. Oh, yeah. I vaguely remember Kung Fu. I did not watch that series religiously when I was a kid. I think I saw maybe a few episodes, and that was about it. Okay, so yeah, exactly, Honey Badger. I'd say, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing your live video tomorrow, Honey Badger. Your live videos have been doing pretty good too, and as well, Cynthia Wesley, safe arrival. I was a molder for a year. Oh, that's interesting, Fork. And thank you as well as always, Val's Black Cast Iron. No, yeah, Val's Black Cats rules. Sorry about that, but yeah, I do believe it's time to get on for this evening. We will I've got a mess to clean up as always anyway, and we all can get on to the next to the end of the week, where once again, as you said, Honey Badger's live video is tomorrow night. And then, of course, we've got the weekend coming up where it's not St. Patrick's Day, so we get to have some fun and do whatever cooking we want to do. I've gotten it in my head that I think I'm probably going to make a pound cake for my family this weekend, and we will go from there. So here's hoping as well, as always, that all of you have had a fun St. Patrick's Day and that your week is going well. And, well, if nothing else, you can always do some cooking therapy and that may help to cheer you up. But most of all, have fun, everybody, and keep safe because things are doing pretty tough. They're always doing pretty tough, though. I think you could say, no matter what period you live in. So let's just all get together, help one another, and above all else, as I said, keep safe and have fun. So have a good evening, folks, and thank you once again for dropping by on my little video here tonight in my kitchen. And yes, thumbs up and thank you very much. All my veggies got eaten on Monday. I have a little corned beef left for lunch tomorrow. Well, then just chop up a few fresh vegetables, and you'll have yourself a really tasty hash. So that's also good there. All right, and Jimmy Langford, see you next time, and good night to everybody, and good night to all of you. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. And as always, we'll see you next Wednesday.